Here is something the real estate industry does not want trending on your feed. There are towns in Texas right now where median home prices are still sitting below $150,000, where you can own a 3-bedroom house on land for less than what most people in Austin spend on 2 years of rent, where property taxes are so low that your entire annual tax bill costs less than a single month of someone's HOA fee in a Dallas suburb. These towns are real, they are livable, and they are available right now in 2026 while the rest of the market is still completely unhinged. I found 10 of them. And for the next 20-something minutes, I'm walking you through every single one, the prices, the jobs, the risks, and the honest truth about what life actually looks like on the ground. Hit subscribe if you want more of this kind of content because we do this every week. Now let's get into the list. Here's the thing, nobody puts on the front page. Texas is enormous. And while the headlines are screaming about Austin and Dallas prices hitting record highs, there are towns spread across this state where the median home price hasn't crossed $150,000, where property taxes are so low they feel like a mistake, where you can buy a house with a yard, a driveway, and maybe even a workshop for less than what people are putting down on condos in Houston. And the best part is, these towns aren't secrets to the people who live in them. They're just secrets to everyone still convinced that affordable and livable can't exist in the same zip code. People who are so locked into watching the same overpriced markets that they've completely missed an entirely different Texas sitting right underneath their nose. Today I'm breaking down 10 affordable Texas towns where home prices are still genuinely low in 2026. Not gimmicks, not ghost towns, not places that flood every other summer or run out of grocery options by Thursday. Real towns with real people and real homes you can actually afford. I'm giving you the full picture on every single one. The prices, the pros, the trade-offs, and whether each town is a smart long-term move or a compromise you'll regret by winter. We're counting down from number 10 all the way to number 1, and that final town is going to make you question every financial decision you've made in the last 5 years. Let's get into it. Number 10 is Cooper, Texas, and if you've never heard of it, that's kind of the point. Cooper sits in Delta County about 82 miles northeast of Dallas. Small town, roughly 1,900 people. The kind of place where you can still buy a 3-bedroom home with land for under $250,000 and genuinely feel like you got away with something. Median home prices here hover around $240,000 to $255,000, which sounds like nothing special until you remember that in most major Texas metros, that same number barely gets you a 2-bedroom with a shared wall, a parking spot that costs extra, and neighbors whose daily schedule you know against your will. In Cooper, that same money puts you on acreage with a metal roof, a fireplace, and enough space that your closest neighbor is a choice, not a consequence of the floor plan. The trade-off is real though. Jobs aren't exactly pouring into Delta County. Most people here commute or work remotely, and that remote work angle has actually brought a quiet wave of new residents into towns like Cooper over the last few years. People who realized they could do their job from anywhere, and decided anywhere should have a porch and a backyard. Sulphur Springs and Paris, Texas are your nearest cities for anything you'd call a proper shopping trip or a medical appointment that isn't an emergency. Downtown Cooper is quiet, agricultural, and honest in a way that a lot of places spend money trying to fake. Wheat farming drives the local economy now. The cotton fields that defined this county for generations have largely given way to grain, and the rhythm of the town follows the growing season whether you're a farmer or not. There's something grounding about living somewhere that still operates on a seasonal clock, where the land sets the pace instead of the algorithm. Median household income sits around $40,000. So this isn't a wealthy zip code, and it's not trying to be. Crime is low. People still wave at strangers and mean it. Rent averages around $840 a month for a 2-bedroom, which tells you everything you need to know about the cost of living here. If you work remotely, draw a pension, or are simply done paying city prices for city problems, Cooper puts you within reach of Dallas without paying anything close to Dallas prices. It's not flashy, it's not growing fast, but for the right buyer, that's exactly the appeal. Sometimes the best real estate decision you can make is buying into a place that isn't on anyone's radar yet. Coming in at number 9 is Covington, Texas. Fewer than 300 people. And yes, that means you will know your neighbors by name within a week. Probably their Wi-Fi, password, their dog's name, and their opinion on the local barbecue spot within a month. Covington is the kind of place that either sounds like a dream or triggers immediate claustrophobia, depending on what you're looking for. But here's what Covington has going for it that most people don't expect. Median household income around $68,750, which is actually solid for a town this size, and suggests that the people living here aren't struggling. They made a choice. About 80% of residents own their homes, which means this isn't a transient place full of people passing through. People buy in Covington and they stay, which tells you something real about what life feels like on the ground there. Median home prices run well under $230,000, and the surrounding area gives you access to Hillsborough, Whitney, and Cleburne for groceries, hardware stores, and medical care without a brutal commute. Waco is about an hour out for anything bigger, whether that's a hospital visit, a concert, or just a Costco run that feels worth the drive. The catch, like every town this size, there's no meaningful local job market. Remote work or a reliable daily commute is the move, and most residents here have already made their peace with that. But for families looking to stretch a dollar without sacrificing safety, for retirees who want land and quiet, and a community small enough to actually feel like one, Covington delivers something the suburbs genuinely cannot replicate. You're not buying a lifestyle here. You're buying into one that already exists. And in 2026, when so many people are actively searching for exactly that kind of grounded, rooted community life, that distinction matters more than it ever has. Number 8 takes us to Anton, Texas, out on the high plains of West Texas. And the high plains do not joke around. Flat, wide, dry, and endless in every direction. The kind of place where you can see tomorrow's weather rolling in from 50 miles away and have a full conversation about it before it arrives. Anton has about 1,100 people and sits 24 miles from Lubbock, which is your lifeline for hospitals, retail, Texas Tech University, and anything resembling urban convenience. That 24-mile gap is close enough to make Anton practical and far enough to make it peaceful, which is a balance that's harder to find than it sounds and more valuable than most buyers realize until they've lived without it. Median household income runs around $45,600. Rent averages in the low 900s, and home prices here are still well below the state average in a way that makes you double-check the listing to make sure you're reading it right. The land is the real draw. You get serious acreage for your money out here, space for livestock, horses, a massive garden, or just that open Texas sky that people in Austin are currently paying $700,000 to be far away from. About 18.5% of the population lives below the poverty line, so this isn't a wealthy area, and the local economy reflects that. But for buyers who aren't dependent on local employment, that statistic changes the equation entirely in your favor. Lower demand means lower prices, and lower prices mean your dollar goes further than it has any right to in 2026. Summers hit triple digits, and the wind out here has its own personality. Dust storms are a reality, not a rarity, but the winters are manageable, and the night sky on a clear West Texas evening is something people genuinely drive hours to see. You're already living under it every single night. If remote work is your situation and you want real acreage at prices that still make honest sense in 2026, Anton and the surrounding high plains remain one of the last genuinely underpriced pockets of Texas land left on the map. That window won't stay open forever. Number 7 is Alice, Texas. Alice calls itself the coyote capital of Texas, which is either charming or concerning depending on your sense of humor. The population sits around 17,500, so this isn't a tiny town feeling its way through existence. It's an actual functioning city with real infrastructure, historically built on the intersection of oil production, railroad shipping, shipping, and South Texas cattle ranching. That combination gave Alice a toughness and a practical energy that you still feel walking around today. Median home price runs about $128,000, which is already well below the state average, and puts full home ownership within reach for buyers who've been priced out of almost everywhere else in the state. Jobs are a genuine strength here, and that separates Alice from a lot of towns on this list. Manufacturing dominates the local employment picture, and Alice hosts offices and operational plants for major drilling companies, including Halliburton. It's also a significant shipping and logistics hub sitting on US Highway 281, which means commercial activity moves through here consistently, regardless of what the broader economy is doing. Spohn Hospital and Alice Independent School District are both major employers, and the combination of energy sector work, healthcare, and logistics gives the job market more diversity than the population size would suggest. For a buyer who needs local employment and not just a place to park remotely, Alice is one of the few towns on this list that can actually deliver it. Corpus Christi is about 70 miles out and serves as the regional urban center for anything Alice doesn't cover on its own. The weather is a legitimate consideration. Some low-lying areas near Lake Finley and Lassie Creek carry real flood risk. And with the Gulf of Mexico sitting only 50 miles away, hurricane season is not something you acknowledge and ignore. You plan for it, you budget for proper insurance, and you make peace with the fact that a named storm will eventually require a decision. Crime runs higher here than most towns on this list, and I'm not going to gloss over that. Both property and violent crime rates sit above national averages. City programs, launched since 2022, have been pushing those numbers in a better direction, and the trend is encouraging, but it's a factor you weigh honestly before signing anything. For buyers who want a city with actual employment options, below-market home prices, and South Texas character, Alice gives you all of that. Just go in with your eyes fully open. Number 6 is Linden, Texas, over in the Cass County area near the Arkansas border. And East Texas has a completely different energy from anything we've talked about so far. The land is green, genuinely green, the kind of green that surprises people who only know West Texas. The trees are thick, the roads wind through timber and brush, and it actually rains here on a regular basis, which changes everything about what land looks like and what you can do with it. Linden has around 1,700 to 1,800 people, the kind of town where high school football is a genuine community event that draws the whole county, where the local gossip travels faster than the Wi-Fi, and where showing up to a church potluck or a volunteer fire department fundraiser is just what people do on weekends without anyone having to organize it on social media first. Median household income is roughly $47,500. Rent runs between $750 and $950 a month for smaller units, which keeps the cost of living manageable even on modest incomes. Home prices here still hover in a range where a solid brick home on multiple acres of East Texas land doesn't require a second mortgage or a decade of savings. Atlanta, Texas is 26 miles out for closer errands and basic services. Texarkana is within a reasonable drive for bigger retail, medical specialists, and the kind of shopping that requires a parking garage. Marshall gives you another solid regional option in the opposite direction. Crime sits near the national average, nothing that should alarm a reasonable buyer. And the community is close-knit enough that people genuinely look out for one another in a way that shows up in the day-to-day texture of life, rather than just on a neighborhood app. It's not fancy. It's not on anyone's list of up-and-coming real estate markets. But for people who want East Texas green, timberland, and honest prices without competing against investors and flippers, Linden is one of the best-kept secrets remaining on this entire list. Number 5 is Nacogdoches, Texas, the oldest town in Texas, which isn't just a marketing line, it's a fact that gives the place a depth and a layered identity you don't find in newer cities. Population around 32,000, and it carries a college town energy that keeps things from feeling completely sleepy or stagnant. Stephen F. Austin State University brings over 9,500 students, a steady stream of faculty and staff jobs, cultural events, and a year-round pulse to the community that smaller towns simply can't manufacture, no matter how hard they try. That university presence also means the local economy has a floor that purely agricultural or industrial towns don't enjoy. When commodity prices drop or an employer relocates, Nacogdoches still has a reason to exist and a reason for people to stay and spend money locally. Median home price runs about $175,000 to $185,000, which already positions it well below what comparable college towns charge in other states. But properties well below that number exist throughout the surrounding county, some sitting on serious East Texas acreage with timber value and creek frontage that would command 3 times the price anywhere near a major metro. The city hosts festivals year-round, with the Texas Blueberry Festival pulling nearly 20,000 visitors every June and putting real money into local businesses for an extended stretch of the summer. Lake Nacogdoches sits about 10 miles out for swimming, boating, and fishing. The Piney Woods trails and state forests nearby give you outdoor recreation that doesn't require a road trip or a hotel reservation. Highway 59 connects south toward Lufkin and eventually Houston for anyone needing a major city within driving distance. George Bush Intercontinental is about 126 miles away for flights. East Texas weather is a real conversation. Wildfires happen during dry stretches. Flooding is a risk in low-lying areas during heavy rain events. Tornadoes are part of the seasonal threat landscape, and the heat and humidity from June through September is something you either acclimate to or actively dislike. And most people figure out which one they are within the first summer. But for buyers who want a real functioning town with a university, consistent employment, outdoor recreation, cultural life, and home prices that haven't lost their minds, Nacogdoches is one of the strongest overall value plays in East Texas heading into 2026. Number 4 is Premont, Texas, down in Jim Wells County in the heart of South Texas. And Premont is small, around 2,400 to 2,500 people, roughly 90% Hispanic and Latino, with a strong cultural identity and a tight family-focused community that gives it a genuine character you simply won't find in a planned subdivision or a generic outer suburb anywhere in the state. This is a place where people know each other across generations, where family names carry history, and where the pace of life is slow in a way that feels intentional rather than resigned. Median household income sits around $45,450. Rent averages about $733 a month, well below both state and national figures, which tells you that the cost of living here is real and not inflated by demand or speculation from outside buyers chasing a trend. Median home prices are still in ranges that feel like a different decade entirely compared to what's happening in the rest of the Texas market right now. And then there are the property taxes, which deserve a moment of their own. Some properties in Premont are coming in at annual tax bills under $500, not monthly, annual. That number changes the entire math on what homeownership actually costs every month. And it's one of the most compelling practical arguments for South Texas towns that most buyers never think to investigate. When your tax bill is lower than most people's monthly streaming subscriptions combined, the monthly cost of owning a home here starts looking very different from anywhere else on this list. Alice is about 27 miles away for everyday shopping, medical care, and the services a town of 2,500 can't sustain on its own. Corpus Christi is 70 miles out and covers everything else, including regional hospitals, major retail, an international airport, and the full range of urban amenities. Lake Corpus Christi State Park sits about 58 miles away for boating, fishing, picnics, and weekend outdoor recreation that's accessible without a major commitment. Crime is mixed and worth acknowledging honestly. Violent crime sits near or slightly above national averages. So, Premont isn't the safest town on this list, and pretending otherwise wouldn't serve you. Property. Crime trends lower than average, which is at least partially reassuring. But for buyers who want the absolute lowest cost of homeownership in South Texas, a genuine community with deep roots, and a price point that leaves real room in the monthly budget for actual living, Premont keeps showing up as a town the broader market has almost entirely overlooked. And in real estate, being overlooked is often exactly where the value hides. Number 3 is Orange, Texas, sitting right on the Texas-Louisiana border along the Saban River with a population around 19,000. Orange is part of the Golden Triangle alongside Beaumont and Port Arthur, a region that was built on oil refining, petrochemical production, and heavy industrial manufacturing, and that heritage still drives the local economy in ways that matter enormously to a buyer thinking about long-term stability. This isn't a town hoping for economic development. It's a town where economic development already happened decades ago and left behind infrastructure, employment, and a working-class identity that has weathered multiple cycles of the energy market and kept coming back stronger each time. The industrial backbone matters because it means actual jobs with actual wages in industries that don't disappear when a trend changes. Major employers like ExxonMobil, Chevron, and Honeywell maintain significant operations in the Golden Triangle, and the paychecks those companies generate flow through towns like Orange in ways that keep local businesses, restaurants, and services alive and functioning. Median home price runs around $150,000, which for a city with this level of employment access and regional infrastructure is genuinely difficult to beat anywhere in Texas right now. Orange is the county seat, which adds county government employment as another layer of economic stability on top of the already substantial industrial base. The historic downtown has been getting a meaningful revitalization push with local restaurants, shops, and community investment, giving the main strip new energy after years of sitting quiet. The Stark Museum of Art and the W.H. Stark House are legitimate cultural draws that give the city an identity beyond its industrial reputation and attract visitors who spend money locally year-round. Now the downsides, and they are real and they matter. Orange sits near the Saban River, and flood risk here is not a hypothetical. It is a documented, recurring reality that has affected real families and real properties in this city multiple times over the past decade. The Orange County Flood Control Project is actively building levees and flood walls with a target completion date around 2033, which is genuine progress. But until that infrastructure is finished, flood insurance is not optional. It is a non-negotiable cost of ownership that you factor into your budget before you make an offer on anything in this city. Crime is mixed. Violent crime ticked up between 2022 and 2023, though property crime runs below state and national averages. Houston sits about 110 miles west on Interstate 10, which makes it accessible for a day trip or a medical appointment without requiring a relocation. For buyers who want industrial employment access, below-market home prices, and a city with real bones and genuine momentum, Orange rewards the buyers who do their homework before showing up. Number 2 is Plainview, Texas, up in the Panhandle in Hale County, roughly halfway between Amarillo and Lubbock on US Highway 87. About 19,000 people spread across a flat, wide, treeless landscape that stretches to the horizon in every direction without interruption. named for its vast open prairie views, which is either your idea of peace and freedom or your idea of sensory deprivation, depending on your relationship with open space and big sky. There is no in-between on this one. You either feel the pull of it immediately or you don't, and both reactions are completely reasonable, and neither one makes you wrong. Median home price here runs around $150,000 to $175,000, and that's the overall market average. Individual properties priced well below that number exist throughout the city, and they aren't always disasters needing complete renovation. The city took meaningful economic hits over the decades, as major employers relocated or downsized, most notably when the Jimmy Dean Sausage Company departed in the early 1990s, and population declined steadily in the years that followed. But agribusiness has remained the backbone of Hale County's economy, with companies like Aztec Milling and Panhandle Popcorn and regional grain operations keeping commercial activity and employment moving through the area consistently, even when other sectors have struggled. A new chemical production facility and multiple commercial development projects are expected to bring additional jobs into Plainview over the next several years, which gives the local economy a forward trajectory that pure agricultural towns often lack, and that buyers thinking long-term should pay attention to. Downtown Plainview has been actively revitalizing with murals, local cafes, art galleries, and Mexican restaurants, giving the main street an actual identity and a reason to spend time there beyond necessity. The city maintains 16 parks covering 286 total acres, plus a municipal country club with an 18-hole golf course and a pool that would cost real money to access in a larger city. A Walmart distribution center and regional agribusiness hubs keep employment options anchored even when other sectors fluctuate. And yes, you are in Tornado Alley. That is not a minor footnote. Severe thunderstorms, hail events, and the periodic tornado warning are part of the seasonal reality of living on the Texas Panhandle, and most serious buyers factor the cost of a storm shelter into the purchase conversation before they ever make an offer. But for buyers who want a real town with actual infrastructure, improving downtown energy, consistent employment, and home prices that still leave genuine room in the monthly budget for a life, Plainview remains one of the more compelling value markets in West Texas as we move through 2026. And number one is Refugio, Texas. Sitting about halfway between Victoria and Corpus Christi along U.S. Highway 183 in Refugio County, this town has a population somewhere around 2,700 people, and a housing market that, even in 2026, has real homes available for under $100,000, some under $70,000. And I want to be clear about what that means in practice. These aren't abandoned properties with caved-in roofs sitting on contaminated lots. These are actual houses on actual streets in a real functioning community where people have lived for generations. That price point exists here because the demand doesn't exist to push it higher. And for a buyer who doesn't need the demand, that's the entire opportunity, sitting right there, in plain sight. The town is tight-knit, in wool, the way that South Texas towns tend to be, where families have owned the same properties for 2 and 3 generations, and everyone within a few blocks has a history with everyone else going back further than most people can trace. You will know your neighbors quickly, and they will know your business, your schedule, and probably your vehicle by sight within a few weeks. For some buyers, that's a deal breaker. For others, it's exactly the kind of community accountability and genuine connection that modern suburban life has almost completely eliminated, and that people are quietly desperate to find again. Refugio County Memorial Hospital provides local medical care, which is a detail worth pausing on because a town of 2,700 having its own hospital is not something you can take for granted at this price point. That hospital represents local jobs, local healthcare access, and a level of infrastructure that keeps Refugio from feeling like a place the rest of the world forgot about. There's an H-E-B for groceries, local restaurants with the kind of South Texas cooking that people genuinely drive for, parks, community events, and the bones of a real town that doesn't feel abandoned or hollowed out the way some rural communities do when the economic base disappears and the young people follow it out the door. Corpus Christi and Victoria are both about 43 miles out in opposite directions, which means major hospitals, airports, large retail, significant employers, and the full range of urban amenities are all within a manageable drive, without requiring you to live near any of them. Heritage Park sits in the middle of town with covered outdoor space and a playground. Mission River Park runs alongside a creek, shaded by tall trees with picnic tables and that quiet outdoor simplicity that doesn't need to announce itself or charge an admission fee. And if you're into hunting, fishing, or just being outdoors without a crowd, Refugio County has that in abundance. The Aransas and Mission, rivers run through the region, and the South Texas brush country that surrounds the town is some of the most productive white-tailed deer habitat in the entire state. That outdoor access is a quality of life factor that people living in subdivisions spend entire vacations and a lot of money trying to temporarily experience. Here it comes with the property. It's just part of what Tuesday looks like when you live in Refugio County. The trade-off is clear, and I'm not going to soften it. You are far from a metro. Most price points in Refugio put you in fixer-upper territory, meaning you're buying into a project with potential rather than a finished product ready for move-in day. You are fully committing to small-town South Texas life, which means driving for most things beyond the basics, limited nightlife, limited career options locally, and a community where your presence will be noticed and your choices will occasionally be discussed. For some buyers, those are deal breakers, and that's a legitimate response. But for buyers who want the absolute lowest entry point into Texas homeownership, with real square footage, a functioning community, genuine local services, and enough room to build equity over time, without competing against cash investors and institutional buyers who've already priced everyone else out of the markets they actually wanted, Refugio earns the #1 spot on this list, and it's not particularly close. So, there you have it. 10 Texas towns where home prices are still genuinely low in 2026. From Cooper at number 10, all the way down to Refugio at number 1. Every single town on this list has real trade-offs, and I gave you all of them. The good, the uncomfortable, and everything in between. Because the only way this information actually helps you is if it's honest. No town on this list is perfect, but every single one of them offers something real at a price that the rest of the market stopped offering years ago. Which one fits your situation? Which one made you pull up Zillow halfway through the video? Drop it in the comments below because I read every single one. And if this kind of content is what you've been looking for, hit subscribe and turn on notifications because we do this every single week. More towns, more states, more honest breakdowns of where your money still means something in American real estate. Don't miss the next one.